If you like redfish, red snapper, and kingfish like I do, then saltwater is your game. But in Texas, who could forget the great bass and crappie fishing? Our guides have what's hot in your region, so listen up. This is the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Welcome back to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Bree Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, with the latest and greatest fishing reports from the best captains and guides in this great state of Texas. We also have our friend from Casa Vieja here, who is talking to us a little later about maybe your next summer fishing trip to Guatemala. But you know, Rick, July is almost over, which means summer break is too. Can you believe how fast it's going by? It's
yeah,
crazy.
It is crazy. But you know what else it also means is that your birthday month is going to be over.
Wow, way to remind me of that.
I know that you're like Miss Murphy. You want to celebrate your birthday the whole month of July.
Why wouldn't you want to? Come
of course,
on,
but guess what, baby? It's over.
It's over, unfortunately. Well, someone who always acts like it's summer break is over at the CCA workbench. Dave Farrell.
I am always on summer break.
You are.
I'm semi-retired. That's my wife told me that the other day.
You are. Well, what you got over here for us today? What are we talking about?
Well, we're going to talk about marlin fishing.
Okay.
Getting on a plane and going to catch some marlin.
Woohoo! I can't wait. All right, well, I think y'all are ready for us to get started, and that's what we're going to do in the Yeti Lure Fresh region with your guide, Matt Reed. You okay with starting us off today, Matt?
I'm looking forward to it, Bree. I got a whole bunch to talk about today.
Yes, you do. Let's get to it.
Let's get to rolling. We're going to start off with largemouth bass, and I'm going to start mentioning my favorite little stepchild, Falcon Lake. It's living up to our reputation right now. You can catch good numbers of fish and occasional great big ones on a Azuma square ball crankbait around the shallow house rock piles in that 2 to 5 foot range on the upper to mid lake. From the mid lake to the lower lake, they're biting soft plastics in plum and plum apple on a Carolina rig or a big stand-up jig head. They're also eating a big crankbait in blueback chartreuse or citrus shad, something that chartreuse color. And fishing's been really good lately. It's been 103 to 107 or 8 degrees, but you can catch a lot of big ones. Moving just up to Lake Amistad. Amistad's about 34 feet low right now and falling, every day they're falling a little bit down here in South Texas. The water temperatures are in the low 80s early in the morning to the high 80s late in the afternoon. The grass has really exploded at Amistad right now. There's the two most common types are hydrilla and peppergrass. The bass have been using the peppergrass early in the morning. They're real good on frogs and weedless swim baits or either lightweight soft plastics around the edge of that peppergrass. On the hydrilla edges, a hard type topwater like a spook or a Sammy has been real good. You can also throw square bill crankbaits to that visible edge of the hydrilla. One of the main ways to catch them after the sun comes up is get you a big ounce or ounce and a quarter jig or a heavy weighted soft plastic with a 3/4 to an ounce weight on it and punch it through the matted hydrilla. Get over it vertical with braided line and flip through, get it through the mat where the shade is under the shade under that grass, and they'll gang up under there in the daytime. That's a great way to catch them. Moving on up to Fayette County, it's been a little bit slow this week, Greg Boyd says. The water's off color from an algae bloom. So the fish are scattered out a little bit on those main lake points in 15 to 18 foot. But you can still catch a few on a dark-colored soft plastic on a drop shot or a Carolina rig. Been giving up fair numbers. Like Somerville, the bass have been biting well early in the morning and late in the afternoon. You need to get out in that 15 to 18 foot of water and look for some isolated brush piles on the main lake points. Texas rig soft plastics come through those brush piles best, and it seems to be the best way to catch them right now. In the Austin area, Lake Bastrop, there's still a little bit of schooling activity. It's been pretty sporadic, but when they're up, you can throw a fast-moving topwater and catch them really well. They're just up for a short period of time, so you got to be on your P's and Q's and get your bait in there while they're on top. Once they go down, you can throw a shaky head with a finesse worm on it in light colors early in the morning. Later in the day, you go to the green pumpkins, a little darker shades, and catch them with that same type of presentation. Also, when you get away from the school fish, look out deep. On your electronics, you can find groups of fish out on the points. You can drag a Texas rig trick worm through those fish and watermelon and dip the tail in chartreuse. That little bit of chartreuse on the tail really seems to trigger a few more bites. Go to Lake Travis. It also has some schooling activity right now. You're using a clear type top water when they're up schooling, or very small worms or swim baits. That clear water, you have to move it pretty fast to try to fool them. That way, they don't get a good look at it and they tend to bite it better. You can get on some of the bluffs, the cliff edges early in the morning, throw a walking bait type top water or a popper, catch them right up against the bank. That's how they're catching the bigger fish right now, is on the top water on the bluffs.
Tell me about this photo, Matt.
That photo was Riley, a customer of mine. Kid caught a great big old fisher falcon the other day. That I always love it when a high school kid or young guy gets him a big old fish.
All right, let's talk about catfish, bub.
All right, catfish at Lake Amistad are real good in that 50 to 80 foot range on the deep drops. You can catch them on dough bait or cut bait. Sour grain really helps you to concentrate those fish.
All right.
Let's move them to the white bass and hybrids and stripers. I lump them all together because they're all the same type of fish. Lake Amistad, you got stripers and whites. They've been schooling early and late around the dam. Shad imitations will get the job done there. Lake Somerville, the whites and hybrids are also doing really well in the deeper water off the main lake points. Slab spoons have been the best bait to catch those fish.
Tell me about the photo.
That's Greg Boyd, the Angler Guide Service, has sent me some of the reports from that area with a big old hybrid from Lake Somerville.
All right, thank you so much for starting us off. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower fresh hot spots. Matt says that Lake Amistad, bass fishing good in shallow grass on frogs and weedless swim baits, and then get out early and have some fun for those bass. What do you think, Bree?
Did you ever notice that Matt is probably the only captain that doesn't mention how much it weighs? It's just a big old fish.
Big old fish.
You ever notice that? All right, let's head north to the upper fresh region with Johnny Geist to see what y'all have been catching on Lake Forth, Gilmer, and Eagle Mountain. Lake Fork, Eagle Mountain. Let's talk about it, Johnny.
Hello, Rick Bree. How y'all today?
Good.
We're
How are
pretty
you, Johnny?
good.
Well, we've been having this major heat wave up here in northeast Texas, and 105 degree plus weather. So it's been pair fishing all day, but it has been tough. Next week, though, I'm headed to Breckenridge, Colorado, so I'll be calling in from there and doing a little trout fishing up in the mountain stream. So be ready. Let's talk about what's going on here in the upper fresh region in Lake Gilmer. It's a little small city lake 15 miles north of Longview, Texas, a 1,000-acre water supply reservoir for the city of Gilmer. Small lake, but it produces good catches of bass and crappie lately. The lake's divided by a bridge, offers shade, which is a great fishing spot in itself under the bridge. It's also adjacent roadbeds good. The upper end of Gilmer, plenty of hydrilla vegetation, and the winding creek provides depth and timber. A lot of places to pitch a jig. Topwater fishing can be good in the morning, late evenings, and around the moss, and frog bites a possibility on some days. Pitching jigs around the creek is the way to get the big ones, though. Lower end of the lake's has good structure. Many long points reach way out into the deep water. Main lake covered in the lower ends, mainly standing timber and a lot of fallen logs. Good many brush piles on the lake. You can catch fish in those. Best presentations are drop shots, Texas rigs, and Carolina rigs. Our last trip over there last week caught them on a watermelon red Zoom baby brush hog. Small reservoirs, got some large bass in it, produces tournament stringers over 25 pounds regularly. And if the summer heat gets unbearable, consider night fishing. It's a good place to go and catch some fish on that small lake. Moving on over to a city lake right there in North Fort Worth, largemouth bass on Eagle Mountain. It's located just north of Fort Worth in Tarrant and Wise counties. It's one of the most scenic reservoirs in the Metroplex area. It's got fairly clear water, a lot of scenic bluffs, and fairly good bass cover. Eagle Mountain's 8,700 acres. The upper portion has a lot of reed beds. Lower end and mid-lakes have a lot of fishing piers, boathouses, act as cover and structure for the fish. Rocky points and bluffs in the lower end of the lake can also hold fish for drop shot. Some tips and tactics to include to try there is largemouth bass can be found around the private boat docks and reed beds. A lot of brush piles on the end of those. White crappie utilize those boathouses as well. And they congregate in the lower end of the lake in summertime, a little bit deeper down there. Schooling whites are schooling every morning early. You can catch them all over the lake. There have been several tournaments lately, one with 20-pound plus bags of 5 fish. The lake record's around 11.5 pounds, but there's not a lot of those, but there are a lot of 5 and 6 pounders showing up in the tournaments. Eagle Mountain has numerous marinas and restaurants. They can be reached by boats. You actually drive up to the restaurant and have dinner. Being close to the big cities also has a lot of weekend pleasure boating, so early mornings and weekdays are the best times to fish there. Several public ramps and marinas to launch from. There's also numerous parks and trails for public access and a little bank fishing around the area. Victory Bass Organization, what I really wanted to get to, had a little working man's tournament there last Tuesday. Has one each week, Tuesday and Thursday. Well, last Tuesday it took over 29 pounds on a 5-fish stringer in a 3.5-hour tournament at the end of the night. So it's a good place. You might want to give Eagle Mountain a try this weekend.
Tell me about the photos here, Johnny.
I have to throw them in. Big bass still biting on fork. It's not great, but when you can take customers out each week and they catch a personal bass, here's 2 customers with theirs this week. So got a couple good pictures there from Lake Fork, and we're having those every week. Let's go fishing.
All right, so
Nice.
I got a question for you real quick. Hey, if a guy wants to catch a big bass in your region, what's the best time of year to go, and what would you recommend he uses to increase his odds?
Good question.
In our area, Lake Fork is the best place, and June's probably the best month for a big bass. For the best way to catch those is a big 1-ounce football head jig or a big 11 or 12-inch shaky head worm. I also use live bluegill on them, and we catch a lot of big fish that way as well.
All right, sounds like fun. Maybe something we should do next year. All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Upper Fresh region. Johnny says Lake Gilmer. The bass fishing is fair on watermelon, baby brush hogs, and shaky head worms, and crappie are good on minnows under the bridges at night, and then Eagle Mountain Lake. Big black bass are good on Carolina rigs, deep diving crankbait, shaky head worms, and drop shots. Crappies are also good on the minnows.
You know, to catch a bass he also left out, they need to call Johnny Geis, of course.
That's right. Of
That's
course.
how you're going to
Call
catch a
one
big
of our
bass.
guys for sure.
All right, we're checking out what our Middle Fresh region has to offer next here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. But first, we want to visit Dave Farrell at CCA Workbench for rigs and techniques.
Yes, sir. We're going to go
Dave.
catching some big marlins. That's what we're going to do.
Whoa.
We're going to go try to catch them. And this is going to try to get them up in the spread for us.
That looks like a marlin to me. We'll see you
It's
guys.
summertime.
Summertime.
It is time to go. Hot.
That is
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. The American Fishing Tackle Company. Any fish, any water. Since 1958. Guy Harvey, marine wildlife artist and conservationist. And CCA Texas, a leader in marine conservation.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Outside is a bully. There are bears screaming fleet-footed waters. Arrogant mountains. Goliaths. 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 And 100 other excuses to stay inside. But there are ways to deal with bullies.
CCA is the largest marine conservation group of its kind, with 70,000 members in Texas. CCA's mission is dedicated to conserve, promote, and enhance the present and future availability of our coastal resources for the benefit and enjoyment of the general public. So if you care about the health of our Texas coastal resources, join CCA today by going to their website, ccatexas.org, and help them make a difference. Use the promo code REDFISH to receive your free hat with your membership. CCA, the leader in marine conservation.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and Dave, undoubtedly tonight you are going to earn your money
I hope
talking
so.
about marlins.
Well, there's probably going to be some people who disagree with what I'm about to say, but that's the way it always is. When you're in Texas, you know, there's a lot of water out there. That's a big empty. You know, so the first thing you had to do is figure out when you're chasing marlin where you want to start, and you're going to be wanting to start on one of those oil rigs out there, or a structure that's not an oil rig, but something like a weed line or a C-mount or anything that'll hold bait. And once you find a place that holds bait, there's pretty much just 3 different ways to go about catching these blue marlins. And probably the most popular way these days is pulling a lot of teasers and doing the bait and switch with little ballyhoos and either little mackerels or sometimes even a small tuna when you get a big fish come up in the spread. And what you'll do is you'll pull big teasers like this. This is a Coggins Tato from Kona, Hawaii. It's a giant lure. You can actually put a hook in that if you'd like, but I would run that as a short teaser, you know, trying to get a big fish, because a big fish will come up close to the boat. They're not really afraid of the boat. They don't care about boats. They don't know what a boat is. And it's, a lot of times we put our stuff way back, and we really don't have to. A big fish or a blue marlin will come to the boat. They're not afraid of the boat, so you don't have to worry about doing that. They'll also pull these big dredges and whatnot. This is what you hear about. This is a dredge here.
You want to open this?
Yeah, you can. It's a mud
Is it
flat
going to
dredge.
spring out and
No, it's got tape on it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a big dredge that you'll pull. This one has little fish on it, but they run them with squids. They'll run them with natural baits like mullets or whatnot, one on each side a lot of times. Not so common in Texas as it is other places, although they're probably doing it a lot in Texas now because it's spread all over the place. I wouldn't do that personally. If I was fishing in Texas, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm probably going to put out lures if I'm not on a rig. I'll start by fishing my lures because I can go faster. And if I got dredges in the water, I can't really go that fast. But if I have 4 or 5 lures out there, you know, I can go 8 knots and cover a lot of ground looking for that good water or a fish. If I see a fish eating somewhere, you know, and then that's when you'll change. But when you're using lures, probably it doesn't matter which lure you use. So I've got, as you can see, all different kinds. What I like my lures to do is go straight and stay in the water. And you can look at any lure and pretty much just by its shape tell what it's going to do. That's probably the best lure in the world. That's a Moldcraft wide range. Doesn't cost that much. It's impossible to screw that thing up. It'll go straight as an arrow from 4 knots to 15 knots. 15 knots you can pull that thing, and it will stay in the water. And what makes it so good is that it's a truncated cone.
Truncated?
So, yeah, truncated cone.
How do you spell that, Dave? Truncated.
Truncated.
I think that's a Rickism.
No.
Truncated.
And what it is, the hole's in the middle, and it's got a long body. So that's what makes it go straight. You'll see some of these other lures, like this one with a short little body and curves at its head, that making this thing's gonna wiggle like crazy. Little short lures will wiggle, long lures will go straighter. If you're in really rough water, you can't pull lures really fast and or with a whole lot of action. For one thing, if your lure's going like this, like a lot of the Kona lures do where they fish in flat, calm water, you see that lure doing all kind of jerky things they got.
Right.
Marlin can come up there and give that thing a couple of swats and then go away.
Interest. Yeah.
But if it's going straight as an arrow and he can beeline on it and crush on it, that's what we want for your lures.
So I got a question. I'm going to interrupt you because this is really good stuff. The question is, you know, what can a guy do to really increase his chances?
Pull 4 wide ranges, either in black and purple, with like a 7 or 8/0, a small hook. Hageman just is fishing in a tournament, and he asked me the same question. Hey man, I'm going to fish in this marlin tournament. You know, what's the best thing for us to do? We don't do it that often. You pull 4 wide ranges at 8 knots, either black or purple and black, dark colors, and go 8 knots with a 7/0 lure in it, and set your drag at like 7 pounds. Not real high. You know, 7 pounds, and you'll hook those fish when they eat with those smaller hooks and a little less drag.
Yeah, same thing
we do. Marlin.
The same thing we do for tarpon. You know, go small on the hooks, easy penetration.
Yep.
All right.
Rick, look at you making real words into Rickisms. You go, man. You go.
Yeah, man.
Truncated is a real word.
It is.
Matt Loescher in the StarTron Middle
Not in
Fresh
my house.
region is rearing and ready to go with Toledo Bend, Sam Rayburn, and Lake Livingston reports. Are we keeping it simple this week, Matt? Matt, are you there?
Hey, Matt,
Well.
wake up, Matt.
Matt sleeping?
So,
We
well,
have
let's take a
Matt's
look
report.
at Matt's report while we get him back on the phone if we dropped him.
We're gonna get a little bit
Basically,
of
what
Rick
Matt said is that his first species is going to be crappie on Toledo Bend. Are biting a little slow, but if you're willing to deal with the heat, you can sit still and catch a good mess of them. The other thing they're doing is still real consistent, catching 40 plus fish a day with some really big ones. The jig bite has become almost non-existent due to how unbelievably hot it is, but the bait with minnows is still producing some really good stringers of fish, especially the small ones. So look for the fish in 20 to 30 feet of water around standing timber and bridge pylon structure, basically. Matt, tell me about the utilizing shade of the timber and the pylons to catch most of these crappies. Are you there, bub?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, so, it's hot out there right now. The fish are really utilizing shade. So make sure when you're out there, you're always fishing on the shady side of that standing tree or on those bridge pilings. And then once you've been there for a few minutes, you even want to utilize the shade of your boat because those fish will kind of reorient themselves right underneath the shade of the boat. And then you can really make the most of that by keeping your baits on the shady side there.
All right, tell me
I've got
about the
a
photo
there.
here. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we got a photo there of a nice lady that caught a crappie with one of my fellow guides, Josh McCarty. That fish weighed almost 3 pounds. It was actually about 2.8, I believe, was what the final weight was on that one.
That's a
real nice crappie there, especially this time of year at the Giant.
All right, what about some black bass? How's that doing?
They're still biting, over at Sam Rayburn. Thank goodness we've got the grass growing over there. The water temps are really hot, creeping up in the 90s. So they're a little slower than they have been, but you can still catch them in that grass pretty good. They're just getting a little more buried up into it because of the heat. So they're staying in the thicker parts of the grass. But if you get out there really early, take advantage of that morning bite, you can still catch them pretty good. You want to get out there before sunrise, though, because it'll usually die off between about 9 and 11 a.m. in the morning. So get out there early, run a swim bait over that grass or a topwater bait, kind of depending on the conditions. If you got a ripple on the water, that's when I like to throw the swim bait. But if it's calm, the topwater plugs are working really good. You can catch them, get some really good surface action, and that's a lot of fun as well. And then down at Lake Livingston, those fish are just getting better and better with the heat, it seems like. They're biting like crazy down there, these white bass are. Spoke with Mr. Simon Costa down there with Skip the Net Guide Service, and he's telling me that they're still catching limits of white bass daily. And most of his catching is done in the mornings, still trying to beat the heat a little bit. Surface schooling action is how he's catching them. He's looking for the fish on top, and he's catching them on topwater plugs and rattle traps right near the surface. And then as the sun gets up a little bit, down there on that far south end of the lake, the fish are moving out a little deeper off of the main lake points and out into the deeper water suspending. So you got to spend some time with good electronics. That's really the key to finding these fish once they go down. And then once they get down there, he's using a slab spoon, and white color to catch them out there in that deeper water. So just get out there and put your time in with the electronics, or get out there early and find them on the surface to catch those white bass. Got a photo there that Simon sent me. That's a nice table full of white bass there that they caught. He says they're catching them before like 10 o'clock every morning like this. So pretty good deal. If you guys would like to book a trip with Simon, just go to LakeLivingstonCatch.com and check him out.
All right, Matt, I got a question for you. So I just asked this to Johnny in the north upper fresh region. So my question to you is, if somebody wants to catch a big bass in the middle fresh region, what time of year should they do it? And more importantly, what kind of lure do you think they should use to catch them?
I would have to say, as far as time of year goes, stick to the colder months. The fish are usually the heaviest in the winter, and you can target them pretty well in the winter. Those big bass, like, say, Sam Rayburn, they love to eat big jigs. A 3/4 or 1 ounce jig, either ripping it out of the grass or fishing it on ledges from about November to February, when they're in their pre-spawn period, is really when you can catch those big ones.
Is there a certain water temperature you like to increase your odds, Bub?
I like it when you get that first little warm-up in late winter, early spring. So I'm going to say about when the water jumps up from about 50 to about 55, that's when they really get active for you.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Fresh region hotspots. Matt says crappie, they are hanging in the shade of the standing timber in Toledo Bend eating minnows, and then bass on Sam Rayburn are chasing swim baits and topwater plugs early over the grass. White bass on Lake Livingston are schooling early and biting topwaters and rattle traps. You know, Bree, the one thing that's so crazy about that is you ask the same question to two different guys in two different parts of Texas, totally two different times a year and two different answers.
Yeah, I saw that.
You gotta like it.
Very interesting. Good job, Ricky.
Thank you.
Let's talk about CCA, Rick. CCA Texas and CCA's National Habitat Program Building Conservation Trust provided $75,000 towards the St. Charles Bay Oyster Reef Restoration Project, which took place in fall 2017. The Coastal Conservation and Restoration Ecology Lab at Texas A&M Corpus Christi has been monitoring oyster growth using sampling trays on both a reference reef and the restored reef. Since then, there has been successful oyster recruitment and growth on the restored reef, with the oyster sizes growing. 18 species have been recorded on both reefs, including mud crabs, blennies, skilletfish, gobies, toadfish, marsh grass shrimp, snapping shrimp, mussels, and barnacles. They're always doing something amazing.
You know,
I tell you, every week it's different.
Guys, get involved in CCA. They give back to what you take from every single weekend. Come on, let's do it.
We love CCA. Stay with us, Texans. We're headed to the beach next and seeing what's biting in the middle and lower coast regions and talking with our special guest from Casa Vieja right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. So stay hooked. And remember, for all things fishing in Texas, visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and view and tag us on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. CCA Star, fishing fun for giant prizes and scholarships. And Costa Sunglasses, see what's out there.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with Fish Point, or a position and heading with Stay Point, or a heading while you drift with Drift Point. Yamaha Helmmaster, now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle.
When it comes to sailfishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about using my duals and having a great wide footprint. Now let me explain a little further. Now by using the Power Pole mounting brackets and the 10-foot blades, once we've installed those to our jack plate, it gives us an angle when the blades are deployed that actually takes the spike and put it on the outside perimeter of the side of the boat. Now what this does is it gives me a great stable footprint. The bow doesn't swing to the left or to the right. And the reason why that's so very important for me is that I can, one, come to a complete stop in a very short period of time, but I also am not going to move the angle or the presentation of the cast that I might want to make to the shoreline or to an oyster bar, or even more importantly, a big school of redfish. So keep that in mind, that wider is better when you're thinking about your shallow water anchor, and that's today's Power Pole Tip of the Week. So welcome, David Salazar, the owner of Casa Vieja Lodge. You know, Dave, you have the premier bill fishing lodge in the world down in Guatemala. And the cool part about it is, how far away is that if you're flying out of Houston or Dallas?
Houston and Dallas, they both have direct flights into Guatemala, and I think they're about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. Yeah. You know, so Dave, one of the questions that we always get asked is, not only can you go there with families and with as individuals, you even have packages where a single guy can fish with 2 or 3 other single guys. Let's talk a little bit about the corporate retreats that you have to offer.
We host 36 anglers, and then we have an off-site house that we use. We can accommodate 12. That brings it up to 48. And then the corporate retreat, generally what we do is set up their meetings either inside the restaurant or underneath the rancho. And they usually do 1 or 2 hours a night, you know, before dinner, after dinner, and then they go fishing during the day.
So how does that work? I guess what it would be great is that a big corporation could offer this to their
incentive
employees.
packages,
Yeah.
some to the employees. Some of our groups offer it to their salespeople at different companies. You know, like whoever sells them. Like we have one guy at Lippman Produce. He puts out a program where all the guys that sell the most tomatoes for him, he brings them in.
Cool.
And he brings them for the trip.
So let's say we land there and we have our little meeting at the beginning of our stay. Now, how many boats do we have? And more importantly, is everything included once you land?
Yeah, once you land, everything's included. It's all, you know, the transfers included, the meals, your laundry, all your bar drinks, your, you know, the food, the boat, you know, everything on the boat, your tackle, everything's included. You know, all you need is your airfare, tips, and $28 a night room tax.
Oh, $28 a night room tax.
Yeah, you got to pay that in Guatemala. Can't get out of that one. Yeah.
Well, if guys have any questions, a corporation, if they have any questions, how can they find out more information about Casa Vieja, Dave?
One, call the office.
Okay.
2, we have on the website, there's a corporate group link that's on the website also to find out more about, you know, how to do that.
So what's the best time of year to go to Guatemala?
Man, everybody asks me that, man. I was just there yesterday, and one of our boats raised, 25 fish or 28 fish yesterday, or in the 2 days of fishing, I'm sorry.
Sailfish?
Yeah,
marlin?
sailfish. And got 1 marlin, was 17 sailfish, a bunch of tuna, a bunch of mahi. So it's pretty much a year-round fishery, it really is, man.
Guys, it sounds like the perfect place to go if you want to go offshore fishing. I've been there many, many times, and I highly recommend it. So make sure you go ask Dave and tell him Rick sent you. Good job there, Mr. Salazar.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Bree, we do have another region to go to, so kindly
Yes, we do. You know, it's always a good time to go to Casa Vieja. That's what I say. Things sure are heating up in the Middle Coast region, and I'm not only talking about the temps, so listen up to your Captain Bink Grimes to hear what's good. Hey, Bink.
What's going on? Hey, southwest winds are nothing new this time of month. I've been getting alerts on my email asking me to reduce my electrical consumption due to the worst heat of the summer. It's 105, 106 here. Our feel-like temperatures, you know, when it's like that, we fish early and get back to the dock pretty early, too. Middle coastal anglers, man, we've been banging full boxes of trout last week in the surf, and then it all ended when we got 2 to 3 footers on the beach. But it looks like our forecast this week, we're going to get back in the surf this week, so we're pretty happy about that. There's been multiple 7 to 8 pound trout released while drifting East Bay, even in off-color water. It's the same old dance. We're finding a pile of shell in 5 foot of water and soaking a shrimp, wait for the cord to get dumped. Raymond Shoals, Pipeline, Log, Tripod areas have produced, like always, and the waders have released the same size trout. They're working the mid-bay reefs like Half Moon, 3 Beacon, and Drill's Lump. The key has been to leave well before sunrise and make your first cast before the first sign of dawn. And then around Sea Dripping, the deep reefs in San Antonio Bay, much like East Bay, are holding trout along the edges. There are hundreds of reefs in the middle of the bay, and many of the captains are hopping from reef to reef. Best option's been live croaker over there. West Matagorda Bay remains steady on the incoming tide. The grass beds are holding good trout on skitter walks, bass assassins, down south lures, and mirror saltines. Again, it's an early bite. Get out early. They're tossing live croakers, getting limits on them, but as well on the live bait game. Then Rockport anglers, they're taking piggy perch and croakers, and they're working the drop off of the reefs with those boisterous fin fish. That doesn't mean you can't catch a trout on a soft plastic or plug. Artificial anglers are still doing that at the edge of Mud Island and Super Flats, and as those trout are riding the tide from Port Aransas Jetty through the Lydia Ann Channel. We got a lot of low tides right now, and that's for Freeport anglers searching for deep water. They work that harbor area in the banks of the San Bernard River, and they're finding good trout on soft plastics and live bait. The photo there's a nice trout caught while drifting with Captain Cowboy Michael Rolfe's boat in East Matagorda Bay. That fish was about 7 pounds, and it was released.
Wow.
We'll go to redfish. Redfish action improved this week with our hot temperatures. Our tides are running almost 3 foot below normal, and what it's done is pulled all those redfish off the shorelines, and they're just out in the middle of the bay, and we're just finding them every day, drifting every day. Have one captain, Tommy Alexander. He's limited on reds 5 days straight out there drifting in muddy water. Pattern's been to look for slicks and then drift behind the oily sheen. And when you get to a big herd, you power pole down and you work that area. Those redfish have saved many, many days, because it's kind of a little tough when the wind's blowing hard like that to catch your trout. There are lots of slot-size reds in Surfside, Matagorda, and Port O'Connor jetties, as well as Port Aransas jetty. This time of year, there's a lot of menhaden coming through the cut, and all those redfish are falling right there. A lot of large table shrimp, so a lot of those guys are using large table shrimp and big pogies, menhaden, and catching those big reds. We'll go to sand trout. It's a bonus fish this time of year. They're hardy fighters and excellent table fare. A large Gulf trout, is 2 pounds, but don't be surprised for a 3-pounder. They bite best on live shrimp, gulps, and gold plastics. We've been finding them in about 3 to 4 foot of water in East Matagorda Bay. Caught some in the surf last week, along with whiting, and both of them, real tasty fish, a white meat fish. When there's lots of sand trout in our bays, there's also lots of big trout shadowing them. There's numerous times I've caught a small 12 to 14-inch sand trout. It's to have a 7, 8, 9-pound trout try to eat it off my hook. So it's pretty cool. Kind of scares you at times.
Tell me about the offshore. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Quebec, man, he said the weed lines produce lots of bull dorado while trolling rig, ballyhoo, and deep diving rapalus. Lots of chicken dolphin on the weed line. A lot of triple tail under anything that's floating out there. Keep a light rod riveted with a shrimp, a gulp, or a squid. Then those daytime swordfish, they've been good along the hilltops on strip baits and rig squid. Kingfish are good behind the shrimp boats while trolling rigs. Those big kings and other species are following those boats because the deckhands are culling the bycatch. And a lot of people ask me that, and that's kind of why I'm explaining it. You get behind the shrimp boats in July. The reason why you get behind them in July is because that's really the only time in the summer that they're dragging for shrimp out there. So that's what attracts the big kingfish. So we got a lot more of that all summer long.
Thank you so much, Bink. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Middle Coast hotspots. He says inshore, trout up to 8 pounds are being caught and released while drifting live shrimp and wading with croakers in East Matagorda Bay. And in Freeport, the banks of San Bernard River have been giving up some trout on bass assassins and topwaters. And then offshore, Dorado are good on the weed lines, as well as the triple tails. Kingfish are good behind the culling shrimp boats.
All right, Rick, fishing in the lower coast region was on fire last week, so let's check in with Captain Chad Kinney to see if this week was alike. What's going on down there, Chad?
No, it's still on fire, and we got some great forecasts looking like for the weather coming up. So, starting off, we got Baffin Bay has been really good on the trout and black drum. Offshore remains good on the red snapper there, and some billfish reports are coming in around that 200 fathom mark, which is good. And Baffin, I mentioned it a few weeks back, I believe, but it's been producing some really good fish out down there since we had the influx of fresh water. So the salinity has gone down. Good numbers of trout, good sized trout, and some black drum are showing up. Talked to Captain Doug Stanford. Runs out of Corpus there and Baffin all over. And he gave you some really good reports here. The trout fishing, he said, has been really, really good real early in the morning. The early bite's been down here at Mansfield too, but early in the morning, live croaker and piggies. Use like a 5 to 7 knot tail hook, depending on the size of your bait there. 25, 40 pound fluorocarbon leader. Free line it with a chatterweight, and then if you're fishing top waters, they've been working really well early. Rapala skitter block on a
pink and the white color is what he's been really using up there. Is working well. The hot spots we've been hitting has been Sandy Hook, Imperial Oil Channel have been the good spots like that, and boat holes also been good on some good numbers of trout, some solid numbers of fish on the boat hole there. And after that, he's talking about when the sun's coming up, after you hopefully, you know, get some trout action going, the black drummer moving in there around the boat hole. So get into there, look for schools of fish. Lots of times those fish, if it's calm out there, they can be pushing ripples of water, stuff like that. Or if you see any mud stern, and all you need is an 1/8-ounce jig head with dead shrimp, and you got cast into them or in front of them where they're moving. For best results, actually, what I like doing is peeling that shrimp off the outer actual shell part and just using it to get better scent in the water and get better stuff there. There's also been big bull reds. You heard just a little while ago. Also, I'm getting the same thing, or at the Port Aransas jetties, you know, big bulls up to 45 inches, so live croaker, finger mullet, menhaden, stuff like that, working good. Dropping down at 25, 30 foot there off there. Moving to the offshore, snapper fishing, like I said, continuing to be good. Federal season for recreational guys still open. State water's open year-round. Amberjack season opens back up August 1st. So the amberjack guys have come in up here pretty quick, and the billfish out around that 200 fathom mark. So I said amberjack opens up August 1, so head up the structure about 150 foot or deeper. Best action's on the Williamson flutter jig, 5-ounce, like that. We're getting that deeper stuff. Look at your sonar or your sounder to check the depth on your marks, what you're doing. Usually those fish are going to be suspended off the structure, so vertically jig it with a fast retrieve through the column. And lots of times on the way down when you're hitting it, you're going to go ahead and stop at the bite real quick at that, or you'll have the bait hit. So just jig through that zone when you find out where they're at. Use about 150, 200-pound mono. And if you're fishing around higher structure like an oil rig or a sunken ship or wreck or something like that, and then go up a little bit higher on your mono so you don't get chafed off and get cut off. If you're fishing those rigs and you got live blue runners or pinfish, or down here at our shop, Erica hides some big live croaker for guys that are 8-10-inch croaker, and they use those for the AJ season. And drop those things down, get a hit, and be a team between your angler and the captain. Get a 5-second run, crank it up, and as soon as you say you're locked up, push them off that wreck so you can get them out of there and then start fighting them in open water. And we're just out there, and the season's close to release. We got a good picture here of an amberjack guy's bucket list was wanted one, so we stopped and got him on the 90-plus pound amberjack.
That looks so painful.
That dude he can't even hardly hold a fish.
No, he couldn't talk for 2 days. He was done with that one. So moving on to the billfish. This is our time of year for billfish. This weekend here we got Port Mansfield Fishing Tournament. It's July 27th, 28th, and TIFF, Texas International Fishing Tournament, the weekend past that coming up. So that's out of South Padre Island. For billfish, look for your sailfish, white marlin, blue marlin, past that 100-fathom curve. And for bigger numbers, if you want more strikes and stuff, it's a lot more tedious, and you guys can be really good at the practice. But use Mexico-style fishing. I call it. Got dredges, get a bunch of dredges ready and pitch bait. If you're using a traditional spread, get some mid-range mold crabs, black barts, stuff like that. Rig ballyhoo always works well on that spread. If you're targeting sailfish like that, dial it down to like a 20-25 wide class reel, 25-pound test. Rig it with ballyhoo and look for bait balls on your bottom machine like that. A lot of times they can be deep, early. And see if those bait balls start coming up at all. When they do, keep working that area, and those sailfish should be around them. And just have your pitch bait ready for them. Or if they come up on your teasers, pull the teasers away, pitch to them, and you go ahead and stick them there. And just one thing, make sure you got a good pair of release gloves when you do that stuff. And AFTCO definitely makes the best one out there. You can see a picture on Sigsbee Deep. They released, I believe, 8 sails that day. Got a keeper sail that they released. They got a great picture right there. You can actually see he's got the AFTCO glove on there.
That is a good picture. Thank you so much for all the pictures this week, Chad. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the lower coast hotspots. Chad says inshore, Baffin Bay has been good on trout and on and black drum, and then offshore remains good on red snappers, and billfish reports are coming in around the 200 fathom mark.
All right, Rick, we're headed back up the coast to see what our captain in the Upper Coast region has to say about your weekend's future. But we know everyone loves new products, so we're headed to the Dave at the CCA Workbench. Dave, what's
They're
you
so
selling
shiny.
over there?
They're so shiny.
You are attracted to shiny things,
Yes,
aren't you?
Yes, I am.
All right, we'll be right back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala. Catch the latest at Rapala.com. Yeti, built for the wild. Building Conservation Trust, CCA's National Habitat Program. StarTron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
When you've got an incredible opportunity in front of you, you want a Yamaha VMAX SHO behind you.
Just ask 2017 Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year, Brandon Polinick. He'll tell you, if you're an aspiring angler with big dreams and a VMAX SHO, there's no limit to what you could achieve. Light, fast, fuel-efficient V6 performance and Yamaha reliability that lets you focus on your game. Nothing pushes you like a Yamaha VMAX SHO.
And that's all we need. We need next quarter so that we can just go on to everything.
Yeah? Stop working right now! Look outside. Is this spreadsheet weather? No, it's not. This is fishing weather. So stop clicking, get out there, and catch a bass. Stop what you're doing and start fishing Rapala Ripstop.
Thanks for tuning in to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram to keep up with our captains, contests, and appearances. You never have to miss a show. You can find full episodes as well as special segments right on our homepage. Just head to TexasInsiderFishingReport.com for everything you need to know to stay hooked up.
Well, we're here at the CCA Workbench, Dave, and
Yes,
new
sir.
products is what we're going to talk about tonight.
Well, we're going to start off with something that's very near and dear to your heart. The
Yes.
Ricky Red rods that you and Mr. Tao came up with. Randy Tao in the Keys, an excellent rod builder.
Absolutely, he certainly is. So, guys, you know, there was a need, in my opinion, for some inshore series of rods to be built. And so I talked to Akuma, and certainly after a couple years of discussion, we came up with a series of lines. They're called the Ricky Red series. We make 8 different spin models as well as 4 different bait casting models. Right. We have actions from medium light all the way up to heavy. So keep that in mind. You know, they come in 7.5 foot spin,
Right.
7 foot spin, and then we have 7.5 foot conventional, 7 foot conventional, and 6.6. So,
Fuji guides.
Fuji guides.
Nice soap cork handles.
We have corks handles. We have reel seats that lock backwards. And the reason
Correct.
why, Dave, is think of how many times you've had a reel on where you didn't quite get it seated in there correctly. And when it locks from the bottom up and you're trying to catch a fish, the reel starts wobbling. So if you lock it down, the centrifugal force just kind of pushes down on the reel, and
Gravity helps you.
Yeah, gravity. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you so much for bailing me out.
No worries.
But the cool part is that they come with high components, and they're $99 retail.
Yep, and this little stainless steel hook keeper, which
keeper.
Boy, that's brilliant because that thing rusts out.
I mean, it's
all the
a
time.
really high quality rod, carbon rod, graphite rod, and short rod butts so that they don't get caught in our, performance wear shirts, which we wear
Nice,
baggy
loose, right.
on windy days. That seems to get in the way. So this is the reason why I wanted to design this series of rods, and I think they're going to do very well.
I do too. I think they're very nice. All right, now here we have, these are from Patrick Sabille. These are, Patrick has been designing lures for a long time. He's a genius. He's a French dude. He makes all kinds of lures. But these are the Dart Spin. He started a new company called A Band of Anglers, and this is one of his first deals they're coming out with. And this is a soft bait with a spinner blade inside of it. And it's this real tough hyperplastic. I mean, this stuff is very strong and stretchy, and that thing ain't coming out of there. And it just adds a really great flash and vibration to a regular soft bait. And it comes, they have if you notice inside here, they've got all the little grooves already pre-dug for you, so you can put in either a jig head like this or a swim bait hook.
Right.
From anybody, either
Right.
weighted or non-weighted. So you can work these things on the surface. They go really nice on the surface with that little tail, blah, 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 if you burn it. And we've been, you can't get them until September. They're abandofanglers.com, which is brand new. So when you go there, you might not be able to see it. But they come in 5 sizes.
Look at this natural color.
Yeah, we used one of these the other day and caught a bunch of nice fish down here.
Oh, cool.
But soft baits, they're just very nice.
What else you got? Fish bites?
Yeah, I got some fish bites. These are Fish Bites makes their own surf rigs, and when the winter's coming, the pompano are going to be coming into. And you heard the fella, they're going out in the surf right now and catching a lot of whiting and stuff. So the Fish Bite surf rig is really nice. 20-pound fluorocarbon. They either come with little, like this one comes with floats to keep your baits up off the bottom, or beads. They come in different colored beads. They come with a 2/0 wide gap hook, so they're perfect for the surf. And you can either use a fish bite on them, or you could go ahead and put shrimp or sand fleas or whatever and catch whatever you want in the surf.
Dave, I'm sorry I used up all your time on the Ricky Red Rods.
No worries, mate.
You know what? If these
Let's
Ricky
sell
Red
'em.
Rods go well, then maybe
You might give me one. You might give me one.
Yeah, right? Me too.
Dave,
Ricky
Dave,
Reds.
I promise you'll get the first 2.
Oh, well, gee,
After I
thanks.
get rid of the first 100.
Exactly. All right, last but certainly not least, we're seeing what Captain Caleb Harp in the Upper Coast region has for you all, whether you fancy a little offshore or inshore this weekend. Make it good, Caleb.
That's it. Well, hey, let's kick it out. The redfish have been consistent in Galveston Bay in both open water and in the back lakes. And generally, the open water schools are going to be all bull reds nowadays. But there's several giant schools that live in open water that you can target. It's just one of those things that, the wind can't be ripping 30 miles an hour for. But you can find these fish, schooling by locating flicks or diving turns, and they're feeding on ribbonfish and jumbo white shrimp right now. And like we've said before, when it comes to open water schools, the bigger the lure, the better. And this will help you get a further cast, which is key whenever you're chasing these fish down. Big spoons and big swim baits with braided line and stiff rod really help out. When the wind is blowing, or you want to specifically target slot reds, the back lakes and marsh are the place to go. And casting at mud bowls with dark-colored paddle tails or wake baits have been getting the best bites in 1 to 3 foot of water. And these techniques will stay good pretty much the whole rest of the summer. There's an action shot of working in open water school of reds, and with my friend Marcus LaGrange on the front hooked up, fighting one, and I'm holding one up there, so it gets kind of hectic. And then, when it comes to trout in the Galveston Bay complex, most of the fish are going to be in the middle of the bay and close to deep water right now since it's so hot. Working oyster shell in 8 to 11 foot of water will be your best bet. And focusing on the edges of the reefs, working the drop-offs and ledges are going to be the key. Always remember to throw up current or side current at each trout. Trout are going to face into the current, so if you cast down current, they're not going to see your lure as easily, and you won't be in the best position to grab it. Throwing down current will also keep your lure up in the water column and make it swim unrealistically. Casting up current also, it'll always allow your lure to get down through the current, swim naturally, and float in the direction the fish are facing, which will result in more bites. Soft plastics, such as Mirror Little Johns or soft shad, have been good. And when it comes to color, it all just kind of depends on the sun and the water clarity. When the sun is out and the water is in good shape, you can't beat lime trees, chartreuse glitter, or glow with a chartreuse tail. When it's overcast, throwing something a little darker, such as a purple demon or even like a pink, are really good. When the water is off color, go darker. Throwing a chicken on a chain, Texas roach, or even a morning glory. And there's a photo there of a youngster, a little 8-year-old Peyton, from this weekend fighting a nice little trout there. And then going offshore, shrimp season opened up in the Gulf last week. So this will add a whole other dimension to offshore fishing by fishing behind the shrimp boat. And Carl from Salty Dolphin Charters says that this tactic can produce blackfin tuna, bonita, kingfish, ling, and sharks, and will be a consistent option while the season is open. The boats shrimp at night, so during the day while they're going to be at anchor. And that, they're going to fish. The fish that follow these boats at night while they're culling their catch will linger around the boat during the day, waiting on them to start dragging again. So you can just pull up by the shrimp boat and start chumming as you drift off. This will bring, a lot of those fish up to the surface. And while you're chumming, you'll want to free line sardines or cigar minnows out the back. And doing this will normally bring bonita up to the boat first. As you chum heavier, the blackfin tuna, ling, kings, and sharks will come up after. And if all you're seeing is bonita, you might want to roll on and try another boat for more target species. But once you find a boat that's loaded up with what you want to catch, let the fun begin. And if you're seeing more sharks than kingfish in your spread, just switching over to a still leader is a must. But always remember to be respectful of those shrimpers and not to get too close to the boats. And there's a photo there of a client from this week's group of Salty Dolphin Charters with a nice blackfin tuna from behind one of those shrimp boats. And then also, the forecast looks good towards the end of the week and this weekend. So with the calm seas, the Dorado bite will get right back on track. And whenever it's calm, the weed lines will bunch back together, and the calm conditions will make the fish easier to see. This season has been really good for Dorado whenever the weather does permit. And, they've been seeing some bigger fish than normal this season, too. Working these weed lines or any kind of floating debris or structure will have Dorado hanging around. And throwing a feather jig tipped with squid will produce some good bites. And then if you got some small live bait, that'll be good, too. And then there's a picture there of a nice box of Dorado brought in last week from a charter out of Surfside Marina.
Good job this week, Caleb. I appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the CCA Upper Coast hotspots. He says inshore redfish in Galveston Bay have been good in open water and in the back lakes. Bull reds in open water on big spoons and big swim baits, and slot reds in the back lakes throwing paddle tails, wake baits, and 1 to 3 feet of water. Wow. And then offshore, fishing behind the shrimp boats in 120 to 200 foot range is producing nice blackfin tunas, ling, kings, and sharks. Free-line cigar minnows or sardines is the best bait of choice for fishing behind those guys.
Minos, what you wowing over here?
Well, it's just like he got it going on in every inshore, offshore, multiple species. He's got it going on, man.
He's got it going on everywhere. Just
Yeah,
like
man.
all of our captains have it going on, I'd say.
Yes,
they do.
Yes,
you
they
got
do.
it going on, Mama.
Oh, well, hey, he mentioned Peyton. That fun fact. I was going to name my daughter. I have a daughter. I was going to name my daughter Peyton, but she's a Mia now, so.
Well, speaking of children, happy birthday to my boy Jack.
Oh,
He's 19 years
birthday,
old
Jack.
this week.
19, wow.
I wish I was
That's
19
crazy.
again.
It goes by fast. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We hope you have a great weekend on the water. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, guys.